Hi everyone, it's me again, Cherie. We are just giving a few moments to get the go-ahead from Paul and David. We are going to do the beautiful Lisianthus flower here. As you can see, we did it in a couple of colors. My mom is here today to nudge me on the side if I forget something so that no one miss out. Okay, we're still waiting for a couple of people here. Hello everyone. After this, I will show you just quickly what I'm going to be using today. Remember, the video does get saved, so if I go a little bit too fast, don't worry, you can re-watch it and then you can see what I'll be using. Hello everyone. Okay, we're gonna start almost. Hi Dale. I see a lot of familiar faces, names. Hi Elise. Okay, we're gonna start almost. I hope everyone is definitely safe and indoors. And I hope everyone has not eaten all their snacks like us. Okay.
Can we go, Paul?
Paul, can you give us a thumbs up if we can go, please? Just waiting quickly. Hello, everyone. Yes. Okay. First of all, I'm going to thank Paul and David for giving us this chance to demonstrate this beautiful flower. I know they're all working so hard in keeping this page live and having everything ready for everyone. It's such a great platform. You meet so many new artists that you didn't know of, and you see so many new techniques. So it's very exciting. I've seen a couple that I can't wait to try. We're busy with stock and building up a major amount of flowers. We're doing about 200 to 300 flowers a week. So this lockdown gave us a chance to build our little flower garden. So most of our students will know how hard and how long it takes to make flowers. So we teach all over Africa. So it's really exciting. We do love teaching and meeting new people, meeting new places, seeing how they work. And it's just such a great experience. So we are going to move the camera a little bit forward. Hello, everyone. It's exciting. If I do shake a little bit, just ignore it.
Into the deep water today. I'm not going to do it. I'm her mentor and her teacher, and I see a lot of our students are on. I'm so glad you're all there. Can't wait to show you this flower. Have fun. I'm going to move the camera to Cherie's hands.
Okay, then I can quickly show you what I will be using. We're just quickly moving. Hello. Okay, we're moving it down a little bit more, a little bit more. Hello everyone, let me just see this.
As soon as you go live,
let me just move this camera. Okay, can everyone see me properly? Okay, I'm just having, is the screen right? Sorry guys, I see I've got a notification saying my screen must tilt. I don't know why. Is the screen fine? Okay, so let me first off, I did thank Paul and David for their amazing work. So what my mom normally do is she takes all the fresh flowers that we do start to make, and then she takes them apart just to see how they mush together and how they make this whole flower. So you can see here we took pictures of the flower that we took apart. So this is a real one, so that we can see what the insides and how they are arranged. So this really helps so much for you to be able to see how the flower works. So first of all, let me just get my tray here. I've got a nice big tray here. Okay, so I'm just lightly going to say I use a number 26 gauge wire for my petals, and then for the center of my flower I use a 20 gauge. So 20 gauge green, but the white, you're going to use white flower paste. So I'm using white wires. I don't want it to come through the white, so you don't want to see the green. So obviously your roller, spatula, spool tools, dressing tools, scribers, your basic cake decorating tools. And then this is the veiner that I'm going to use today. Okay, let me just see. I see the angle is... Okay, let me just push the camera up back again. Okay, sorry guys. Let me just see what this is doing. Okay, and if I turn it like this. Hello everyone. Sorry, this camera today. We did such a good run. You see, the cameras keep saying tilted. Okay, so the veiner. Yes. Okay, the veiner is from Crystal Candy. They do ship everywhere. Thanks, Paul. I see you say that's better. Okay, so they ship everywhere. I'm using their flower tape, flower paste as well. We developed a flower paste over the years. It's especially great for humid conditions and for rainy conditions, so your flowers does not wilt or lose any shape. So hi, Ray from Crystal Candy is on as well. Yay! So you can buy all her flower veiners online. After the lockdown, she will be able to ship again. And then this is what the cutters look like. So it's only one cutter. And then this is the calyx. It's the back of the flower. Move it a little to your left. Okay, sorry guys. How is that? Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So, and then I just used a green leaf veiner for my green leaves. This is the green leaf cutter. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is to explain to you the Lisianthus flower has 15 petals. So 98 to 95% of the flowers that we do take apart has the same amount of stamens inside as the same amount of petals. So I'm going to be using 15 stamens for the 15 petals. So it has 3 rows, 5, 5, 5, and each row gets the edges of the petal curled differently. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the first row of 5 firstly before I do the center of my flower, which is called a pistil. It's not a rose veiner. It's basically you can say it's a universal veiner, but you can see the veins is quite straight, and then it has a little cup in the middle, a little bulge. Okay, so I'm going first do my 5 petals because they can't be dry completely. You need to form it like this one I made, form it around each other so that they dry like that, and then afterwards you can take it apart. So let's do the first 5 petals. I use a veining board because I like very thin petals. All flowers has very almost see-through petals. So I'm going to take my white flower paste here. And then I am going to use spoons like this to let my petals rest. just soften and knead your flour paste a little bit. Okay, and then I am going to use a bit of vegetable fat, just so that my paste does not stick. Rolling it softly. Rolling it out.
And the less paste you use, the thinner you will get your petals.
The veiner is about 8 by 8 centimeters. Okay, so you must start to see the grooves on your veiner board, but even that is not thin enough. I'm going to remove my paste, and then I'm flipping it over so that I can see where my veins are. It's easier than to use my cutter to see if my vein is right in the middle. So I am going to do 5 for the first 5 petals. And then I am just going to leave them or place them in my little plastic folder here so they don't dry out. Placing it in there. So I will be using a cell stick again so that I can really thin out my petals before I insert my wire and start veining them. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 quickly just to show you how to give the effect of the petal on the edge, because the Lisianthus has, let me just zoom out a little bit. Okay, has little edges, little frills on the side. So now I'm taking my 1 petal again, just dusting a little bit, and then I'm using my cell stick. So I leave the middle groove in there, and then I roll out
as thin as possible,
as thin as you can go. It's really almost see-through. Now you can see I leave my middle vein there, rolling it out. Okay, I'm using my spatula here to loosen up. I don't want to stretch my petals, so you don't just pull it off. It will definitely stretch. Then I take my cutter again and I go over the piece of paste. Now I can insert my wire. I am dipping my wire in a bit of glue, taking off the excess. And then I'm inserting the wire here. I keep my 2 fingers between the paste to feel where the wire is going so it doesn't run away from me. Now secure the bottom of your petal so that the wire doesn't pull out, like that. And then I soften my petals before I vein them. You're not frilling the petal, you are just softening the edge. Okay, softening the edge. Now I am going to take my veiner, adding a bit of cornstarch. The best way that I have found to vein petals, so remember your groove on the back goes into the little cup of the veiner. Putting the top one on there. Now I'm veining between my hands. And there you go. There you've got beautiful veins. I'm going to do the other one as well, just to show you again. I am thinning out my petals again after I have cut them out. Leaving the middle vein, taking my spatula just to loosen it. I don't want to stretch it. Cutter. So while these 5 are resting in your spoons, I'm going to do the center. the pistil.
We have already made the first 5 petals in order to save some time for everyone. So while she's making at the moment she's made the pistil, we will start assembling the first 5 petals, because it's best to make this flower while it's still a little bit soft, so that you can move the petals around and form it nicely. And it's just my take of making this flower. Perhaps you have something else to, you know, how you want to make it, but we show you how we do it here and how we teach our students.
Okay, veining between my hands because it does give a brilliant vein. Okay, so what I'm going to do, remember to dust cornstarch. You don't want to stretch your petal when you take it out. I'm going to take my Dresden tool. The Dresden tool has 2 sides, a thicker part and a thinner part. I'm taking the thin one. Dusting a bit of cornstarch here. And now I'm gonna give it a tapered effect. So I'm just scraping over the petal onto my sponge, the top part of my petal. So let me bring it closer. You want to almost cut through your petal. If you go through your petal, it's not a problem. You can see they're beautiful. Do the other side. So all 15 petals gets tooled and edged like this, but the first 5 petals we curl the one side inward. So I'm just taking a little stick like that. We do the left side. So your back vein is at the bottom, the front part, your left side. Taking a little stick like this, and then I am rolling the corner inward. You see, I'm rolling it a little bit so that when I remove it, it has a nice curl like that. Okay, so then before I add it to my spoons, I already dust the petal before I add it to the spoon. So I do, it's almost like a lemon lime color, but then I mix Crystal Candy So Intense colors, her yellow and her green. I mix that together to get my lime. You use so little to get the perfect color that you want, and then as well a little bit of cornstarch. So the cornstarch I mix here on the side. And what, let me actually take a bit of wax paper so I don't waste any powder. So a little bit of cornstarch here and a little bit of powder. And then I mix the cornstarch with the powder a little bit. This decreases the chances of having streaks on your petals or flowers. So I am dusting the bottom part of my flower, and I'm doing the back as well. Now I am adding it to my spoon. And then I'm just flattening the middle part here because you want it to rest in that cup of the spoon. Let's do another one. And then we'll start with the pistil. Okay.
Don't stress if you feel it's too quick for you, because the video will be saved on Cakeflix, so you can go back to it and refer back to the video and, if you want to make this flower.
I'm going to show you closely quickly here. This technique gives the petal as well a slight frill to it, a natural looking frill. Okay, so taking my little stick that is always gone, we never know where it goes to, it takes a holiday. And then the left hand corner, you curl inward. Now I'm going to dust again. I'm dusting the back part as well. You never comb your hair just at the front, you do it at the back as well. Remember, you a little bit of cornstarch, not a lot. The more color you add, the darker you will get. And now I am adding this to the spoon. Okay, now we're going to do the pistil while your 5 petals rest. Like I said, you don't want them completely dry. So for the pistil, I used a number 20 gauge wire because it's nice and thick and steady, and I am just going to cut it in half. So like this one. This is a ready-made center. We're going to do this quickly before I dust it. Okay, so let us start with, I'm going to take a bit of paste, and I am using a quarter teaspoon of paste, level spoon, like that. And I am going to break off a little piece, like that, because the quarter teaspoon is too big. So this is the part that I'm going to use. So you are going to knee the little piece till it's nice and soft, roll it in a ball and then into a longer shape like that. Now I just keep it between my fingers and then I flatten the top part. We do the one side first, just the one corner, because like I said, we take apart the flower so we see what it looks like naturally. We pride ourselves in doing very botanically correct flowers, so that is why it's only the one corner. Your second and your third row is also cornered differently. So you've got your little marshmallow there. I'm going to take my wire and then I'm just going to do a small hook here at the end, very small, and then I'm going to take my burner. I burn my wire because then the sugar melts, and then when it sets, it doesn't come out very easily. Okay, keeping the one side in your hand.
Cherie, people are asking for the color of the dust you're using. So once you've burned that into your, please just show them the colors we're using.
In the middle, don't burn yourself. And then secure the bottom part to the wire like that. Securing it. Now I'm going to take my scriber, or you can use a spatula or a sharp knife, and I'm going to make 4 indents around my little pistil. See, I'm just giving it 1, 2, try and get it evenly. I know it's sometimes hard. 4. Okay, so there we've got our 4 indents like that. And now for the little piece that we broke off, we are going to give it 4 little ears like that on top, because that's what the pistil looked like when we took it apart.
The reason why we're using the burner, it heats up and then it burns into your sugar paste. So it helps you to work much quicker on that specific project than using edible glue, because edible glue, then you'll have to wait a day or 2 before you can start working on it. But you know, with the heat, burns into the sugar, it burns into it, and it when it cools down, it's already hooked into your, the wire's hooked into your paste.
Okay, there I've got 4 little balls here. I would say they are about 1 to 2 millimeter in width. So put them there. Then I'm going to take my 28 gauge wire. So everyone knows that's very thin. And I am just going to cut 4 little pieces off my number 28 wire.
Can you move the camera to your right?
Okay.
Like this, is that better?
Okay, so we're trying to accommodate everyone here. There we go. So these little 4 wires, I'm going to dip the tip of my wire in the glue, and then I am inserting it in my little ball. I'm flattening it, I'm securing it around my little wire, flattening it, and then I'm bending it a bit backwards, like that, backwards. Everyone see? So do all 4 of them, and then make sure your balls don't run away from you. Inside, securing it, flattening, and then bending it like that. Okay.
If you can see on the real one, which was this one, this is the reason why you put that small little top parts in with wire, because this is the real one and this is one when you're done with it. That is what Cherie's busy making now.
Okay, so after you've made them, I use my little tweezers to insert it here at the top. Okay, because the tweezers are just so tiny, it's just better to work with it. So grab them by the bottom and insert it right into the top part like that. And then just bend it open a little bit, inserting all 4. So this I normally make a day in advance so that they are nice and dry before I dust them. You don't want to dust them and then they end up falling off. Okay, so there I've got my 4 little pieces on top, and now I'm going to continue working on the little dry one. So like I said, I'm going to use the lime.
And the colors of the lime. Please show them
Okay,
the
so
colors
the colors we used again is the lemonade, and then this is the greenery green.
And it's Crystal Candy So
Intense.
Intense.
It's groovy
colors.
green. Sorry guys, it's groovy green from So Intense from Crystal Candy. I used their paste. Well, we developed the flower paste, but they sell it on their website as well, the flower paste. The stamens, the wires, everything you can find there.
And the powders.
I've got brilliant powders there. So the lemon lime, and I'm just dusting all over my pistil here. Make sure it's nice and covered. And then this is why the top part has to be dry, so that you can dust them and they don't end up falling off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with my 15 stamens as well.
Your yellow.
Yeah, I'm gonna dip
Poland,
dip that now.
Sorry guys, I'm always correcting her. That's unfortunately in my nature.
Okay, so I am going to dust my white wires in the same color. I don't want to see the white of the stamens. It's just so that it blends easier. Okay, so there we've got our stamens. I've cut my stamens into half. Now I'm going to tape my stamens to my bud. So the stamens does not go, it's not higher than your bud, okay? It's either the same length or a so small bit below it. Okay, so I take a couple at a time. I'm going to use my green tape here. Okay, so I just normally take 2 or 3 at a time, and then I tape them to the bottom. You can see there, it's not higher than the pistil. Taping it, adding a couple more. So don't worry if your stamens move around. You can always move them to where you want them. I know it's sometimes very frustrating when they run away. So I make sure that after I have taped them together, that they are where I want them to be. Okay, let's add a couple, the rest of them over here. If you struggle to do too many at a time, just take less. Okay, so now that is taped together, just going down, taping it down all the way. And now I'm going to take my stamens and I move them to where I want them. Okay, so once that is done, I add a bit of glue here right on the top. Right there on top. And then I'm going to dip them in pollen. So our pollen we made from powder and maize meal. You can see that it's a coarse, flowery consistency. And there you've got your pollen on top. There we go. So now once this is done, I'm going to add my 5 petals to the center. Let me just move this one here again. Okay, so now I've already made my petals here. I'm going to quickly dust them. Okay, my green, and I've got my little bit of cornstarch here as well. It's just to prevent streaks on your petals. Anything that you dust, I do mix with cornstarch. Bit of color, mixing it together. So it's nothing fancy,
Nothing expensive.
nothing expensive. I just leave it back on the spoon while I'm continue dusting everything. Like I said, this I made right before I did the center, because you don't want the petals to be too dry. Petals. If it's too dry, it will break around your center. Okay, so I hold my center upside down like this. And now I'm going to first attach it. So the bottom part of your petal, like there, and then the bottom part of your pistil there. Okay, we're going to attach it right over there so they align with each other like that. Okay, so what I do is I take my finger here in between and I just bulge it a bit out so it makes a little cup like that. If you don't want your petals to move around, you can tape each one separately, especially if you are a beginner. Tape them separately. Make sure your tape is nice and flat. Okay, so there's the first one. Okay, so now I'm going to add the second one, overlapping halfway on the first one, like this. It's in the half of the first petal. Just bending back my wire here a bit. And make sure when you add them, they are the same height. The one is not lower than the other one or higher than the other one. And again, you can still move your petals. If they do move when you tape them together, you can move them around. Okay. Remember to cup the petal. I use 26 because it's not as thin, but it's easy to maneuver. Again, cupping it a little bit. Don't worry if your petal runs away. Okay, the fourth one, keep overlapping. You have to keep overlapping. Most flowers, when you take them apart, you can see they overlap. Remember the same height. All 5 petals the same height. Now for the last one, I'm inserting it underneath the first one, overlapping the one before. So it has to keep overlapping. And then securing it. Now I'm taping it all the way to the bottom. Remember to pull your tape to release the glue. You don't want thick tape around the wire. Otherwise it's not a thick bouquet. Okay, so once this is on, you can see it looks a bit funky. So now I am making sure all the petals are cupped, and I am overlapping halfway in the previous petal, halfway in the one next to him, always half. Oops, Now I'm just keeping it between my fingers like this so that you can get this effect. Now this is going to hang upside down overnight. It's just to ensure that your wires does not come off, or your petals don't come off your wires, and it's nice and secure. So it is closed because once it is dry, we can open up the petals for, on the flower to where we want it. So I'm going to bend the back of my wire here a little bit, and I'm hanging it on my little rack here. So now I can work on the one I made last night. But first, let's do the second row and the third row petals. So like I said, don't forget, the first row gets cornered inward. Now the second row gets cornered left in, right out. So let me show you that. I'm just going to do one petal here. Okay, so I've made a couple extra ones that I've already veined. Okay, so now remember your dressing tool, the smallest one, nice and fringy. Okay, and then I'm taking my little stick, left corner, going in, whirling it a little bit to keep its shape, and then I'm turning it around. Don't squish this part. Turning it around, going inward. So now that when I flip it back over, you can see, oops, left corner in, right corner outward.
And it's exactly how a real flower looks like, or at least the ones we took apart.
So this is why we do it, because the flower, that's what the real flower looks like. So this you will dust and put on your spoons, and then the last row. So now I would do the rest of my 10 petals, doing 5 like this for my second row. And then my third row, I am going to curl both corners outward. Let me show you that.
And we always make the first 5 petals to stand overnight, because the next 2 rows, you will add them immediately after you've put it in your spoons for a while. And then you will hang it upside down to dry overnight.
So the 10 petals that you're making now, you will add to the dry one that you made yesterday. So the moment you are done with all 10 petals, you can do your second row of 5 and then your third row of 5. So the last 5, I'm going to flip it over to the back vein facing me, and I am curling it towards me. 1, 2. So when I turn it back over, both corners are curled outward. Okay, so you're going to dust this and put them on the spoons. So I've already made mine to save a bit of time. Okay, my center. Here we go.
Your dry one.
This is the dry one. Let's see. I am taking the 5. Remember, the second row is the one going in, out. Oops.
In on the left side and right on the outside when the petal is facing you.
Okay, so I've got my 5 petals already made here. So I've got my tape. Just grab a different piece here. So tape does get sticky around your fingers. Just have a nice clean cloth next to you so that you can wipe off your fingers. Okay, so now I am placing it bottom part of my petal right underneath the first row. Yes, each row has 5 petals. So placing it there.
And that's the reason why we add 15 stamens. Like we said right in the beginning, about 98% of the flowers that we took apart, the real ones, has exactly the same amount of stamens as the amount of petals there is. I don't know if any one of you have seen that before, but I really do look into it specifically because One day I just realized, you know, on a lily there's 6 stamens and there's 6 petals. On a hibiscus there's 5 stamens and there's 5 petals. So that's why I'm counting every time when we take a real flower apart to see how many stamens there are.
So remember overlapping and then just bending your wire a bit out so it makes a cupping effect. So now I'm attaching all 5 at once. I'm being very brave here. Remember, the last one gets tucked underneath the first one. So let me tape them together. Like I said, if they do move after you've taped them, it's not a problem. You can just move them back into position.
And this is the cutter that we've used. A lot of people are asking us which cutter. It's this one. I don't know if you can see it. That's the cutter we're using. We're only using one cutter for all 3 rows. And why do I do that? When I took that flower apart, all 3 rows, all the petals were exactly the same size.
Okay, so now I am spacing my petals so that they are equal spaces between each other. Make sure they keep overlapping each other. Overlapping.
And careful not to tear your petal from your wire.
Yeah, it's still a bit wet, so you can work a little bit more careful. Okay, and then there you have your second row. I like to put it between my fingers just to check that the spaces between each other are perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna just hang this back upside down. And then I am preparing my last 5. Okay, I haven't dusted these yet, so let me quickly dust. Remember, the last row gets curled both outward. You can see I leave them on my spoons like this. So my 2 corners hang over the spoon. Okay. So let me get I prefer the wax paper, then I don't waste any of my powders. You can just keep it in your hand. It's not completely dry, but it is dry enough. You see, it's a quick motion. Put them back in the spoon like that. Okay, and remember your cornstarch. It doesn't leave any streaks. Okay, so now, once I've got my next row of 5 petals, I can attach them. This is the last row we're going to attach. And then I've already made a completely dry one before I dust the edges. I'm going to do a little bit of a purple shade. My purple is my favorite color. I think Paul did mention that in the introduction video. So I'm doing purple to keep on the theme. So again, when you place it on, remember to put your finger underneath and just bend it, just cup it a little bit. I'm attaching all 5 again. So the bigger it becomes, you will see it starts overlapping a little bit less. And be careful not to tear your petals off the wire. What we do, we always make extra petals because you never know what happens. You not thinking, or your mind is somewhere else, and then you accidentally tear off your petal. So always make 1 or 2 extra. So placing them right underneath the previous row like that, you can see there. Okay, overlapping the whole time. My last petal gets tucked underneath the first one and over the previous one like that. Now I'm taping them together, and then I am going to space them back to where they originally was. Releasing the glue the whole time, and I'm taping at an angle. I know most people know this, but it's just for those who forgot a little bit. And then I am taping all the way to the bottom. Okay, and now I'm, like I said, spacing my petals so that they overlap each other. And be careful that your petals don't get out the wire. And there you can see how beautiful is this. So the edges I'm just going to do with a little bit of purple. I'll show you the color purple I used just now. Now this hangs overnight before you can dust, because you don't want to break the petals. So here I have one that I made yesterday. So you can see it is closed. So now after you've dusted it, you can open up the petals a little bit, because the flower grows from the inside going outward. So I'm just opening it up a little bit like this. There you can see. Okay. So the purple that I used is again So Intense from Crystal Candy, and I used the Vivid Violet. It is such a pretty color. I mix my paste, fondant, anything with it. I paint with it as well on my chocolate, on my cakes. So it is really, you use so little. It's such an amazing range. So now for the purple, I always mix a bit of cornstarch. Again, cornstarch, so I don't get a lot of creases and that it blends properly. And I love to use these white brushes just to get the tip, just to touch the tip of my petals. And then I'm going to use a little bit of purple here. Not a lot. I literally use so little because it is very concentrated. Okay, I'm going to dust and then I'm going to add the calyx. So I'm mixing my purple with a bit of cornstarch here. You can see I use so little and it's very, very dark. Okay, I'm going to quickly dust. Okay, and then I'm just touching the edges. Just touching the edges of my petal. Remember not to blow on your petal, because you never know if a client wants to eat your beautiful creations. Just touching the edge. If you want to get the excess off your flower, you can use a blow dryer or just wave it off a little bit, or take a clean brush and brush over it. Okay, if you go front and back, then you get both sides.
I will dust it and then Cherie will start with the calyx because our time is running out.
Okay, so my mom's continuing dusting. So the calyx you saw was a little star. It looks like a very dried out starfish. Okay, so what I use is, I've got my bit of green here. Again, I mixed my own green. You can buy the green as well. So everyone knows that calyx has that bit of a bump at the bottom. So if you don't have a board with holes in, you can make one yourself. Make a little hat. So I've got my bottom part here, small one like that. Then the rest of my paste I work out like this, keeping the little bud inside. Okay, so cornstarch. Okay, I am using my cell stick and I'm thinning it out. Thinning it out the whole time. You don't want a too thick calyx, but you need it wide enough for your cutter to fit. Okay, I don't want to stretch it. Using my spatula. Now I'm placing the little knob in the middle like that. Then I'm taking it off, getting a clean cut like this. Perfect. So, and then it flies around. Sorry guys, I'm trying to get at least the calyx in here. Okay, there it pops out. So it's very thin. Now I'm using my sponge here. I am rolling the edges a little bit longer.
And thin as possible.
Thin as possible, because you don't have a massive calyx at the bottom. And I'm thinning and I'm thinning. I'm thinning. I don't want to go into anyone's time here. I'm thinning. So the sponge helps me to thin it out nicely. What I like to do is I take my scriber and I just make a hole here in the middle, just to make it easier for me to insert it into my flower at the back. And obviously a little bit of glue. Where is my glue? Oops. Glue at the back and a little bit here at the tip of the stamens. Calyx. So then I insert my wire all the way to the top, securing it like that, flattening it, and then I'm placing my calyx over like this, securing it. And then what I like to do, I tape my flower to an extended thicker wire so that I can make a very nice bouquet. Here we go. Taping it all around. Just make sure your calyx is glued properly. I'm rushing, guys, sorry. And I quickly want to add 2 leaves. There we go. Then I already made leaves, remember, with the veiner and the cutter that I showed you guys. I'm just adding it right next to each other here. Oops. Well, they tape them one by one. It's always easier. Okay, the other one, taping it together. Perfect. Yay. Okay, there we go. Make sure your calyx is stuck to the flower. Okay, so there you can see now I can open up my petals a little bit. I've added my green wire, my pretty little leaves there at the bottom. Guys, thank you. I'm going to lift the camera really quickly. Sorry, you're going to see the floor as well. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so there you go.
And this is your flowers.
Thank you so much, Paul, David. This was so much
Everyone
fun.
who joined us.
So much stressful. Good luck to the next.
Judy was
person.
shaking.
Bye. Thank
Good
you.
luck. Bye. Enjoy.
Enjoy.